6:01. I will now call to order the October 17th, 2016 meeting of the East Hampton Conservation Commission. The meeting is being recorded. Are there any public concerns, non-agenda items? Great. Seeing none, we'll move on to public meetings. First item on the agenda is a request for determination of applicability, filed by Kevin Netto, construction of 2 single-family homes at 63 Highland Avenue, map 129, lots 18 and 19.
Good evening. For the record, my name is Emily Stockman. I'm a professional wetland scientist here to represent the applicant, Mr. Kevin Netto. Before I begin my presentation, just a few housekeeping items. I have a copy of the legal notice.
Thank you.
That was placed in the local paper. I also have a copy of the certified mailings. This is an interesting RDA in that the applicant is not the landowner, so per the wetland regulations, the landowner must be notified by certified mail. In this case, Todd Vitoski is the landowner. He's in the process of selling the property. Mr. Netto is interested in purchasing the property pending approvals from several commissions and boards in town. We first visited the property, which consists of 2 parcels. One, a parcel B, which is approximately 1.6 acres in size, and a second parcel, which is approximately 2.5 acres in size. At that time, it was early May, and we delineated a series of wetland and intermittent streams. There's an intermittent stream at the base of a significant ravine along the easterly property boundary. There is something of a BVW, or bordering vegetated wetland, associated with that stream, designated by flags A1 to A7. Moving downstream, the delineation flags then depict inland bank, until we get to the confluence of a second intermittent stream, which flows across the property along the northerly side from west to east. That system has a fairly significant bordering vegetated wetland associated with that, and those flags were placed approximately A17 to A34 and to demarcate that boundary. As noted in our delineation report, there are additional wetlands to the northwest, but since they were outside of both the existing single-family home and any anticipated project area, they weren't flagged during the May delineation. As I just mentioned, there is currently a single-family home located at 63 Highland Ave. The applicant is proposing to construct 2 additional single-family homes within the overall property. The second or middle parcel, which is now being designated as a parcel C, the majority of that proposed single-family home is completely outside of the buffer zone associated with both bordering vegetated wetland as well as inland bank. Only a small portion, proposed 16 by 12-foot deck, is located within the outer buffer zone. Further into the buffer zone, that area currently consists of a mowed lawn and it would remain as such. The third or easterly lot, the proposed work is entirely within outer riverfront. So what we've done with the site plan for the RDA is clearly denoted a limit of work for the
Riverfront or buffer zone?
Buffer zone. Did I say riverfront? My apologies.
Okay.
Thank you. That would be the project from earlier today. Thank you for the correction. Yes, so this would be within the 100-foot buffer zone to the wetlands and inlet bank. We've carefully defined the limit of work with erosion controls consisting of straw bales, such that no work will be any closer than the 50-foot buffer zone, and to the north we're quite a ways from that designation as well. So overall, we have a total outer buffer zone impact of approximately 2,396 square feet. That is talking about the impervious surface, so we're talking about the actual house, garage, shed, and proposed driveway. Naturally, there would also be temporary impacts associated with the construction, but we've proposed to keep all of those materials, stockpiling, dumpsters, building and construction materials within that designated limit of work area and as close to Highland Ave as possible.
Opened up to questions from the board.
Are there topographic lines on that map?
You know, they didn't do a significant amount of topography for this plan. One of the things that Northeast Surveys did do was they picked up the top of a fairly significant slope. So if you look right here, that top of slope, which is designated by a sort of thicker gray line, would indicate the top of that large ravine that I discussed earlier in my presentation.
So is it pretty level up until that line?
Exactly. It's, you know, maybe a little rolling here and there. One impact, of course, it's outside of buffer zone, a little bit within buffer zone, is like there's an existing concrete pool that's gonna be removed in that area, and so there's some breakouts that are associated with that. That's gonna be removed, and part of the house is gonna go around top of that.
Is there also a garage that's being removed from the buffer zone?
So at this time, that has not been proposed for removal.
Okay.
In this, I'm sorry, so the garage has not been proposed for removal, there is a carport that has been proposed.
Oh, okay, I couldn't read what it said.
Yeah.
So that's off to the side.
Yep.
I figure, yeah. There. This is the, yeah, that's the
And is that
carport.
currently
Or I think the
impervious underneath, or is that grass?
There's some hodgepodge of concrete and pavement throughout, but I will, it is sort of degraded, so there are some, you know, some vegetation that's growing up, but it's basically underneath a roof area, so considered impervious.
So when you have that work though, it just looks like you're doing work in the mowing grass area, or are you cutting down trees?
No, that was one of the things that we clarified with the Nettos, they have no desire to get into the wood line. So originally, there had been some discussion of having a limit of work running just right along the 50-foot buffer zone, but that would imply that they were working in the wood line. They're not proposing to remove any trees, so basically that utilized lawn area and previously developed areas, the focus of the work.
Is that gonna be hydro seeded after?
There wasn't any talk of hydro seeding, it would be seeded, disturbed, soils are typically hand seeded for a project this size with a native conservation mix and then mulch with straw, but hydro seeding was not proposed.
Okay.
So what, if any, typical residential lawn area would there be? Because I'm looking at the 50-foot buffer zone and how close that comes to the driveway in the corner of the house.
Yeah, so currently, the mowed lawn or open pasture portion of the property is very close to this top of slope. There is a narrow fringe of predominantly sumacs along that top of slope. Those would remain, and then they would just continue with that existing lawn area as far as future mowing and landscaping.
I realize you reached out to try to schedule a site visit before tonight, and I appreciate that, and I apologize, it's been a hectic couple of months. Our next meeting is next Monday night.
Okay.
We adjust the schedule in months with Monday holidays so that we still get 2 meetings in. Is anyone interested in or available for a site visit between now and Monday?
Yes.
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes. That's not on the weekend. Maybe, yes, not on the weekend,
I
works
can do
better?
it,
Okay.
if it's in evening.
Yeah,
After
yeah.
5.
It needs to be an early evening to start pretty
I know.
fast, you know.
Yeah, that happened quickly. Okay,
Very good.
so let's check calendars. Make sure we can see if we can find something that can work for everybody.
Is the 50-foot buffer zone gonna be, like marked during construction, or is that just gonna be the silt fence wall?
It would have to be, well, the 50-foot buffer zone, where it is the same as the limit of work, would be marked by the straw wattles. In this northerly section, the 50-foot wetland buffer zone is further back, so that would just be erosion control.
I'm looking at, Wednesday, the 19th. You do Thursday or Friday?
Yeah, we do.
Tuesday or Thursday for me, so.
Okay, Thursday.
I'm before another commission on Thursday. I could do Wednesday or Friday of this week, or I'd be happy to come to East Hampton a little sooner on Monday, if it makes sense to me.
Do a little sooner Monday. Can anyone do sooner Monday?
Before the meeting?
Yeah.
Yeah, oh yeah,
That's
that's fine.
tough.
No, that works.
If
That's
everybody else can do
stressful.
it. Okay, so
That
if we met
works.
at the site at 5:15, on the Monday, the 24th?
I'd be happy to do that.
Okay. Does that work for everyone else here for that? Anyone else here for that? Okay. And has everyone signed in? I saw Bill came in after this came back up. Can you pass that back to Mr.
Yeah, I
Kennedy?
don't have to sign in for this though.
No, but in general.
Yeah.
Here.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. All right.
Monday at 63 Highland, is that?
Yes,
Meet at 63 Highland on Monday, the 24th at 5:15.
Excellent.
All right.
So this is the end of the, is the last, 63 is the last house on the street currently.
Yeah, don't forget. Okay. Is it yours?
There's one,
It's on the other-
that's the canal, the New Haven, Northampton Canal, there is a house on the other side.
Right.
But waiting.
Right, you have to cross.
Okay.
I mean, it's quite a
Road.
distance.
Right, there are a few more houses beyond.
Yeah.
Right.
Like Kelly's straight over.
Yeah.
And then there's a
Yeah,
neighbor, there's a neighbor
turn-
that
turn it
heading down to
across.
her house.
Okay.
Last one on the
Yeah,
left.
Cossack
Yes.
and,
For a distance, in a group, yeah, a little neighborhood there.
trying to get this in here so I don't forget it. Okay, so with the applicant's permission, we are continuing this to our October 24th meeting following the site visit at 5:15 that night.
Excellent, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Good night, thanks.
Okay, so, all right. So we need to put these ducks in a row.
It's yours?
Oh.
It's yours here.
Thank you.
Okay. Ready?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Moving on, we have a request for determination of applicability filed by Mount Tom Estates Owners Association regarding paved access drive within the 150 buffer zone at 311 East Street.
Yes, my name is Tony Wachowski, I'm the president of the Mount Tom Owners Association, here with board members also, Pat Stevens and Rick Lindquist. And I did send a packet of information that you're just getting now, or?
No, it was forwarded as a
Oh, okay.
PDF by the planner.
Okay.
So
Because
this
they
is not
also-
the first time we've seen it,
Okay, they also sent electronic,
Yeah.
can see with the pictures on it, I have
which is very
copies
helpful.
up
Thank
here.
you. Oh, excellent.
So the board has been, we did have, the notice, put in the paper, and we did send one out to the, DPW, no, DEP. And, everything else, that was the requirements that was listed in that stuff that you sent to us.
Thank you.
So what we're trying to do is to see if we can put in that paved area between the existing old concrete barn floor and to the new asphalt that's been put into the new asphalt roads that have been paved in our condo association. We did have an environmental engineer come out to do this, and they were talking about doing a study, and the expense was really up there. I mean, we didn't really feel that that needed to be done, so that's why we put in the RDA. Have a couple more.
Oh, thank you.
Absolutely, here's the one.
I have the copies that you gave us, so.
Okay, there's another set of the same
Thank
thing.
you.
And we'll just go with the pictures. I did a sketch in the layout of the proposed paved area. It's approximately 1,200 square feet. And it will go from the existing finished pavement that's there now to the front of the old concrete barn floor. These are some of the pictures
That's the old barn floor.
Yeah.
of the area.
That's the concrete slab.
And
Thank
there's 4 or 5 shots of that. Now, I'm not too familiar with the way a lot of these things go,
you.
but
So they're parking on it right now, is that what they're?
that's my parking place over there. Yeah, well, this is like for overflow parking and stuff. So once I get my motorcycle out there, my wife can get into the garage and I can get the truck in there. But it looks good for now. We have watched this particular area. Let me see if I can show the good picture. Right in here through. We're gonna curve that slope from here to the front of the barn.
Basically where people have been driving?
Yeah, we've been driving, it's been compacted. When the builders were working, all their heavy equipment was parked there, and it gets compacted. Now, we've watched it during a couple of real heavy rainstorms, just to see if there's any settlement or puddling or whatever, and there was none. I mean, it runs into the barn, and it runs out of the barn into the detention pond area. And
So that barn, that already discharges to the detention pond? Okay.
And just because of the way it's been there for the longest time, everything looks like it's pitched back in that direction. We do have two drains here at the end of the street, but the majority of the water right now just goes right into the detention pond area. So that was the reason for doing this. Now, before the builders take off, I wanted to see about getting them to do this.
Mhm.
They agreed to do this once we get an approval from the commission that would be accepted to be done.
Okay. So I guess,
I have a question if I can.
oh, please do.
Along the edge, I haven't been to this site, it looks like the wetlands or stream disappear into a culvert.
Mm-hmm.
So is this actually a resource area?
That is bank.
Okay,
That is.
Even though
that
it's
is-
culvert?
Yes, because it's conveying a jurisdictional stream.
okay.
So,
So when it says 50 feet from culvert, that's 50 feet from bank?
yeah,
Okay.
50 feet from, so historically, some property owner ages ago, that segment of stream in a pipe, and that's how it's been.
Okay.
So this is essentially in the pavement they're proposing is in the buffer zone of
Of the
the
bank.
culvert.
Yeah.
Where's the culvert? It's
Well, it's about 100 feet back from the
See,
barn
it's
floor.
actually marked as a drain line.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
this is-
Yeah, it's over here, this is over here.
Right, but it goes even back farther because it's
Yeah.
been covered over.
Yeah, it's back behind, basically, it begins between units 2 and 3. So if you look at sheet 1 of 3, do you have sheet 1 of 3?
Yeah.
You can see the end of the flag series
Yeah.
between the phase 1 and 2 labels, basically. So that's where the culvert begins,
How long is the culvert?
long.
Yeah.
It daylights at the end of the property.
Yeah, right there.
And that must continue on somewhere, I believe.
Doesn't it have to be a certain length,
That's riverfront.
and it's not completely?
No, it's when if a stream goes into a perennial stream goes into a culvert that's more than 200 feet long, that has buffer zone but not riverfront area.
Okay.
Whereas if it goes through a culvert less than 200 feet long, it still has riverfront area.
This has blown the mind of many generations of members of this commission.
This whole project, yes. Well, and theoretically, if anyone ever wanted to, this is already,
That's
the
on
barn's already here, but in other circumstances, if the buffer zone is still protected, because theoretically, if anyone wanted to daylight it, one of the common reasons you don't daylight streams is because that are culverts, because they've been developed up to the edge. That's why they were put in the culvert to begin with usually. So this is a different situation in that barn slab has always been there, or has been there for a very long time. It was there prior to this development as part
They
of the
had an
property
original
before.
thing of a phase 2 area that was never gonna be done,
Yeah,
so.
yes, your project has a very storied history.
I've known before I moved in. Anyway, but
Still a
basically,
nice area.
it is very nice. We're in a process of finished landscaping now, and everything's being done this week because it's summer again for a week. And this is one of the last things that they're gonna be doing, so.
Trying to pave this year, you're trying to get the paving
Yeah,
done.
I'm trying to get it done before the builders leave. They've got one more unit to sell, and
Then
they
they're
even,
gone.
I have a picture, they even took the dumpster out today too, so.
Oh, boy.
No more free dumpster?
Huh?
Sorry.
And that's where all this stuff, no, there is
I
nothing.
know, it was full to the top.
Oh,
And
yeah.
that's been for a year.
Oh, well, okay.
They just want it there.
So which way,
All right.
what's the runoff from 1,200 square feet?
Well, it seems like it's very compacted anyway.
It's already that way anyway.
Yeah, so it's probably
essentially.
running up quite a bit.
Post-development's not gonna exceed pre-development by,
So I think it's a good thing.
so we're not really.
You mind?
You do it? Good.
Change.
that's what, I mean, that's kinda, I mean, so that when the person you talked to proposed a very expensive study, it deals with the capacity of the existing detention basin and how much water's going there now
Right.
versus how much water can go there. So, you know, if you add too much water,
Right.
additional water to it, then it's not gonna perform properly. But, you know, I guess it seems like in this case, a lot of the water in this area is probably going there already.
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
And the soil in this area that you're looking to pave is probably pretty well compacted.
It is like concrete almost in
Yeah.
some spots, yeah.
Right, so the paving of it is probably not gonna
No,
cause too
no.
big of a, you know.
Because we're starting to maintain the area now, which it hasn't been for a lot of
Okay.
years.
So
It's got a lot of overgrowth and stuff, and there's that
Yeah.
stream area, in the detention pond, it's gonna be cleaned out again, according to the plan, so, we shouldn't have any problem. And the most I've ever seen is maybe a foot or two of water, even during a heavy storm, and things
Good shape.
fills up, so it's been a pretty good design.
What's down over here along,
All right, this is the, east,
I've been here a couple times. I don't know.
yeah, that's the east border.
Get out to the cross country.
And, let me see, what it shows it here.
So the culvert's going right,
Yeah, right through there, but it's about, I would say about 40 feet to the side of the barn wall. It runs all the way through.
yeah. Is this a high spot along here? 'Cause-
This is slightly higher than the
hopefully,
rest
I
of
know.
the house, I'm gonna say a couple of feet. You're doing it from where
When
this is.
fall
There's
is in full,
Yeah.
when fall is in full swing.
But the
They won't
villagers
see
do have to do some slight landscaping just to blend into this.
Well, there was a.
So when they're going and they
just
finish up the road
kept on
and make
driving
that
there,
curve to
couldn't
go to the
break.
concrete, they're gonna sway
But
it
it
down
come,
back to the
you're talking about the one
asphalt.
that comes down
anyway.
right between Bridge 3
So-
and 4.
It sounds like,
Beautiful.
so I was wondering if this, you know,
The way
kind
it
of
kinda
pushed to
comes down
drain
into-
over this way, but it sounds like it doesn't, because there's a high area.
Yeah, it's going down,
right
no.
there.
What's one most-
They had the two drains going this way, so stuff is supposedly come down that way.
Mhm.
But it's gonna be actually going in two directions, part of it going in this direction, part of it going towards the
Built the
barn.
bridges.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So is this high in the
Bridge out.
center so that it
Yep.
drains to the edges? Is that the idea?
It's really
Or how are
nice.
those drains supposed to capture the water now?
To tell you the truth, I'm not sure.
Okay.
It looks like it might be slightly higher in the center, just looking at it from distance down the road.
And the water from the barn, there's a trough that goes.
There is a center drain in the barn that's been filled with drainage material.
Ceremony.
And then the water just hangs out there until
No,
it.
this goes through and goes out
Gail and I
underneath.
went.
Oh,
The
okay.
barn wall has a short stub
Very
concrete
nice.
wall the length. There's like drainage slots in it, so the water
People
goes
all
through the
over the
concrete
place,
into the
these and that
detention.
place.
And that's
And
about,
it
This-
sheet flows through,
I
is
mean,
that what
it
you're
seems
saying?
like,
It sheet
it
flows
seems like
through,
everything
it's not
in
like
this
a,
whole area is
it,
going.
the
Oh, yes,
trough
yes,
doesn't
there's-
go into a pipe, but.
no, there's slots, like long
Okay.
slots, and
Usually
there's
just
just
tires.
Yeah.
That's,
it's
that,
just-
that
Yeah.
kind of diffuse distribution of water is good, because it's not, it gets a chance to
Yeah.
infiltrate somewhat.
This pipe is
that's what we're
from,
doing in the process
she
of
can
cleaning
look
up
at
a
this
lot of
one.
that stuff, but the overgrowth, we like through those slots, so we got the landscape coming out and jump out and everything else, so we won't have any.
Yeah, we
problem.
do.
Mr. Cannon.
there's multiple iterations of it.
Yeah.
We're at the phone call, the old,
Yeah, and that's
Sales
just,
guys. People
yeah.
will
the
come
old
in.
stormwater guidelines.
Yeah.
Sort of doesn't follow the current stuff really. But if this is real.
I want to sell you
waste,
something.
which, you know, sounds like it is, it's.
Yeah, Phoenix and Arizona. Are they gonna take material out? Remove materials from
They're gonna probably scrape up some of it, yeah, and put some of the process in it, and interface with it.
So is that material you put yours in airplane mode or?
Yeah, probably will be.
Just turn it on.
This is now, there's no place else to put it. Just take it off. And there's not really that much of it. They probably have to bring a little more in just for compact base.
So, are there any other?
I gotta write all this down.
But that's good, because we wanted you to be part of the discussion. So is the
The
civil.
thing is in the registry, I gotta unlock it.
I don't know about that anymore.
a couple of times, I think the board was out there,
Yeah.
looked at the property.
So I was part of the permitting
Very annoying.
after this, I guess Kulik wasn't on? I
Now
can't
it's-
even remember.
Yeah,
It was one of the first things that I saw, and it was to just get a new permit, things had expired.
And that's what the builders have, the Domchiks had one that expires.
Yeah, it
already.
expired.
That's the
It,
10th.
yeah.
Yes, it did.
So what does that mean, that it
That-
expired?
What was that? Let me double check the date.
October 10th, it expired.
Yeah, I took it off because it expired. Then have to go back to an old folder. Right. Basically, we were, you know, this is separate, is what you're asking.
Oh,
is
right.
separate, yeah.
Okay.
So their work is done.
More or less. As soon as we have them done with the landscaping and a few
Yeah.
other small issues.
So what status now is the detention pond and
It's into O&M, operation and
maintenance?
maintenance.
Okay.
Someone needs to request a certificate of compliance.
No, I didn't do that yet.
Yes, now, we can.
Yep, that would be you. And that information isn't on the website, but, I can work that out with the city planner.
Okay.
I have to look at the final order of conditions to see what was required of it. But basically, that's the document that would then continue certain conditions on in perpetuity, like the
Right.
operation and maintenance of the.
Because one of the things, we need to do now is to clean out that trench
Mhm.
slightly, and, because it hasn't been done since the builders took over, so
Mhm.
we know it has to be done, like, from what you mentioned before. So, other than that, I think I'm working quite well so
Good.
far.
Okay. Are there any other, are you caught up?
Yeah,
Are you sure?
enough.
Nothing you can remember.
Enough for you?
Is it something we wanna do a site visit on? Some people haven't seen it, I've never been there.
I mean, our next meeting is Monday, so, I don't, I've
You're
seen
okay?
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
Okay.
I've seen it, but.
There's
Yeah.
really,
Yeah.
the
I'll
photos,
send you more pictures.
the
You saw
photos
it.
do it justice.
You saw it in the pouring rain. Is that
That's
what
true,
you
it
were-
was raining when we were out there.
Yeah.
Didn't you say everything draining?
That's understood. So with that, would anyone care to have any further discussion?
Do you think you persuade the developer to scrape in a little swale or something over there and seed it to get the?
We're planning to do that, and to try to clear up the area, because right over here, there was a big scarped out area, there was
Mhm.
old trees we had taken out, and there's still, some sumac roots we're gonna have taken out, just trying to grade it smooth right about that area. But we're talking right about in here?
Yeah,
Yeah, so it just swells right down into the retention pond area.
is it?
Yeah.
Yeah,
You can condition a small vegetated swale.
okay. Alright,
Because we want the landscaper to be able to go in with a machine and do that 3 or 4 times a year. You know, set it up high, just keep it cut clear, so it doesn't go over to the 12-foot stuff we had last year. So-
Right, no, I don't wanna get that call again, thank you. All right, so, would anyone care to make a motion regarding the request for determination of applicability?
Do you have an option sheet? You did the answers.
Transfer sheets.
Take a look at the, things be positive, I mean, positive means we would require a notice of intent, negative means we think that this can be done without a notice of intent. But if we wanted to include something like a vegetated swale, then we would need to include that specifically, reconstruction notification.
So I would like to make a motion to issue a negative determination type 3, that the work described in request is within buffer zone as defined in regulations, but will not alter the area subject to protection under the act, and therefore said work does not require filing of a notice of intent, subject to the following condition of a small vegetated swale installed down gradient of the paved area for some additional stormwater treatment.
Awesome.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
That sounded like it was
So
practiced.
Do you wanna write it? Just make sure it's legible. Okay, let's, and if you would be so kind as to wait a moment.
Sure.
I would like, actually, could I include all the copies of the photos?
You should have.
I do. You can have these back. I don't need extra paper in the file. We have limited space. So if you wait, I can, once we've all signed this, I can make a copy and give you the original and,
Where do we go from here now? We talked about that small amount of
do
work.
you want to give a number? We can contact you after I think,
Sure.
or email.
Sure.
Well, there's no real erosion protection or anything like that.
That's true.
But, I mean, I'll
Just give you an email address, I can, or you can use.
give you a phone number.
Okay.
So, ready? 413 552 8809 is Jay.
Oh, for God's sake.
Give me a call.
You need to stop that now.
Okay, this
Thank
truck
you.
won't be for a few days, whatever you.
Oh, yeah, no problem.
Thanks, I appreciate it.
I sit around, please.
For me?
Constant harassment.
Having a fine area. We've been there a few times, so.
It's also the builder doesn't want to pay.
Of course they
You
do.
don't have to
Of course
worry
they do.
about it. He's gonna do the minimum.
Those inheritors will serve her very well.
That's what he's done all along.
We actually-
But it's soon over.
Well, Melissa, one more
Yes.
thing, once we get this done, are we gonna have somebody come out, take a look at it, send you a picture?
Sure, just let us know when it's done.
Okay.
We coordinate with Jay. Jay is fantastic about
Field
making himself
operations.
available. Yes, exactly.
So we can copy of this now too? when we're
Yep,
done?
Yep, I
Beautiful.
just need to put a time over here.
You can make
Let's
copies
see.
and I'll send out the
I mean,
original for the files.
I'll
I
talk to
know,
Jessica.
unless they keep the original, we get a
Oh.
copy.
I will
You get
be
a
right
copy?
back
We
with
get a
this.
copy, yeah. We'll make 27 copies and hand them out to everybody, so we're all set, no problem. And we'll get one to Russ, yeah. I gave him a copy of all the stuff here, so he has it
You
too.
can just add it to it.
Now we just get a hold of these Pioneer tomorrow, because they're gonna be moving those trees and the shrubs, and then I can see about getting that done, because they asked me about that anyway, about how come we've got that little swale like that there, and they should be draining in, so I don't want to talk to you guys.
Spell swale.
We did a while ago that we had.
SWALE?
That's what I would say.
Swale is like
I'm the
well.
secretary, I want to make sure that's right.
When you type it
Yeah,
in,
a
it'll
little
go out,
correction.
it'll self-correct.
For the bridge
And then you can check the
country, or
meaning
moving on
Yeah.
for
Make
the rest
sure
of
you have the right
rest of
word.
the rest of the trail?
Yeah, that was a couple weeks ago too,
Yeah,
right?
I think it was around the same time.
Something was going on when I saw
Oh,
on Saturday, or
no,
time
they
Saturday.
haven't. No, they,
And he didn't tell me anything, and that guy was
they're
there,
not-
with the Cadillac.
hurry as much
I knew something was going on, but I didn't think it'd be jumping on
And
the
I guess
highway.
the solar
Black,
project's
yeah, you're
Right.
black.
No.
Huh?
I thought he was.
The
What's
solar
that?
project's
Yeah.
not.
And put a hit on somebody.
Somebody showed up with a kayak, like, it's that is right moment, though.
Study.
Coincidental.
And Bob showed up today too. and it's
What do you need to
just-
study for something? What do you need to study on the solar project?
We've got each other's
No,
names.
it's not after that,
Where's your original?
Really? Put the kibosh on it?
Oh, very
No
good.
shit.
We get the original.
Hopefully
they're gonna revisit it
next time
around.
Um, I can scan a copy and email it to you if that makes it easier to just.
You can do that at home.
You can do that at home?
I guess they had some of the schools kind of look at the
the
system there, and it's too new and everything else, they wanna get used to it, and a couple of things we gotta do to the shit.
Okay, so you're all set?
You are all set?
Thank
Thank
you.
you
very much.
Well, it's a little
Thank
too
you
mushy,
for
too
taking
soft.
care of this.
So I wrote
I mean,
Jeff and
Well,
us,
under
we
your belt
can
before
put
you deal
some
with the certificate of
stone dust in
compliance.
there, bind it up a little bit.
Where someone does, it closes out the order of
Yeah,
conditions
but it rolls.
that's recorded against
It
the
rolls a
property
little
deed.
bit and
So you're
everything
running
else,
up the
so,
hill.
yeah, it's,
Okay,
you
so
know,
that would
but they,
be after this whole project is done?
They
It doesn't have to
They
be,
have
this
heavy
project's
equipment.
completely separate,
cause,
Okay.
because you got the negative determination for it, then.
so the pressure is off.
Hey, we live in a place with a
That's
swale.
all they want. They're in the low. They want it.
It's the little things, there you
Get
go.
it done.
If there's a problem with the
Yeah, right.
conditions, that needs
So
back to
then
the
maybe,
building.
yeah, it's been big deal.
It's
You get
recorded.
some of the other places where they
If
kind
it,
of
if it
like
wasn't
go
done
through
in
the.
compliance, we just can't issue a certificate of compliance. The builder doesn't have to be the one to request it.
See, nothing, right here, nothing.
And your condo association, so it's a little
Oh,
different,
banking on a
because
heavy
you don't
leaf
know,
fall.
the association owns the land.
Shortly.
Real quick.
Or the, yes.
Yeah, he has one.
But the
there.
individuals own the units.
Went up, right, then went down.
It's a little different than a private, you know, like a single family residential situation or a commercial building.
Yeah, because it sounds like
I'll think
it's
about that one.
swell.
Yeah, we should have a swale and then.
All right, very good.
yeah,
Thank you very much.
Thank you
very
all.
much.
Good luck.
Thank you.
A dingle.
Thanks.
What?
Thank you. We're just discussing phraseology.
Oh, there's no such thing as a
Is it all one, it's all one person property?
It is, it's a single parcel in condo.
I gotta sign up.
Okay, request for certificates of compliance. Hang on, check. Yeah, you're right, I get it.
It can't be that hard.
Oh, boy, here we go.
After having a listen about being, men deal with being sick less.
Okay, I'm sorry, I'm just trying to get realign my ducks here. I'm wandering off all over the place. Boy ducks. Okay. Alright. Shoving paper. Okay, alright, city of did you issue the town page? No, we never got
We didn't get an
a,
as-built,
and we
right.
still haven't gotten an as-built,
Yeah.
so that's gonna get continued to the 24th. Oh, that's easier. One down. Alright. Pascoma Conservation Trust, Mutterfield request for certificate of compliance, Mass EP file number 151284.
So I have I emailed
You
another
did.
report,
Thank you.
so I
Oh,
have a
and
hard
thank you for
copy,
bringing a hard copy.
hard copy for you. So that they have made all the repairs to the couple areas that had some erosion issues. Along the parking lot, they put in a heavy mulch bed to stop the erosion coming off of the edge of the parking lot. It's on the first page. So the stormwater comes into the mulch area and will percolate in the ground and hold that. They fixed the swale that leads down to that parallels the lower ramp and into the rain garden, so that the stormwater goes into the rain garden instead of flowing over the path. And that's where the erosion was at the end of the ramp. And then they fixed some minor erosion coming off of East Green Street. They put some more blacktop down to better direct the water into the swale.
Okay.
And they overseeded the East Street side again
Okay.
for umpteenth time.
What's going on down there? Just too dry a year?
Yeah, just so dry. So, I mean, the site is stable, they've removed all the erosion control barriers. I looked at the brook crossing, it's stable and fine.
That looks good.
When we got it from?
The afternoon of the opening.
8. Okay.
And so what, I got the heavy mulch bed and the paving at the edge of East Street. What was the third thing? that you
The
did?
swale, they cleaned the swale
Yeah.
that leads into the rain garden. that had gotten silted up with soil.
Yep.
Which caused it to overflow and cross the path.
Along on the side?
Yep, on the side.
Is that stable?
Yeah, it's a little shallow in there.
Over here.
Right.
It shouldn't be that much coming down there in the first place, but when it gets fully vegetated, it
That's
should
the
be
swale.
much better.
Comes down.
Oh, okay, no.
Comes down along that side.
And its destination is.
The rain garden, yeah, it was designed to, the swale was designed to funnel
This way.
stormwater into the rain garden.
And that top covered whatever is on the opposite side of the property line, the
Yeah.
adjacent property owner?
Yes, oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the abutting piece.
Like, it looks like there's still some material that has flowed off the road down into here. Do you know if that's from before?
No,
or-
that's from the removal of the silt fence and wattles.
Looks
That's
like
what-
there's rock down there too. It could just be the picture.
Yeah.
Over here, this gray. Cause that's where, that's one of the places where it was collecting before.
Yeah, I didn't see anything, it might just be the picture. But I know that's where the wattles and silt fence were,
Mm-hmm.
and that's where all the, some of the high vegetation had grown up there. I don't know if Jay, you can zoom in on it?
You want a zoom bold picture, you can look at this.
You see it in there? You see that?
Past
That was.
Oh, it's paid for.
But I don't know if it's from before or
Right.
if it's still happening down
I think it's, if it, anything is before, cause there wasn't anything that was coming across that path since they reestablished that swale.
This area looks, doesn't look like there's anything fresh.
here. Yeah.
I have a question, and I'm really just curious about it. So with the heavy mulch bed, in the event of a really huge rainstorm, mulch is strong enough to hold that water? I'm really just curious, I'm not trying to like.
Yeah, no, it's a good question, cause mulch sometimes does travel in water and so forth. But it's a very, it's a smaller area, and they've lined the whole length of the driveway, or the parking lot, with it, so there's a heavy underneath the guardrail. I didn't get it.
It's compacted a little
Yeah,
bit
it's
too.
impacted all, and it's burned up,
Yeah.
so the water,
down.
right, it's gonna slow it down.
And hopefully it'll allow for some of it to filter through as well.
Right.
But we wanted to put that in there so we wouldn't get any more migration of the trap rock. And as far as I'm concerned, the vegetation can grow up through the bark mulch and just kind of further reinforce, you know, that mulch area. I mean, it's supposed to be a rustic, you know, kind of area anyhow, so.
We're just running out of growing season, that's all, so I won't.
Yeah, right.
Oh, yeah, I know. But, you know, the trust will be further cultivating
Maintaining
and everything else and
At least,
do what we can, you know.
at least it's not gonna be plowed and used
Yeah,
over the
it-
winter time, so you
Yeah.
don't have
It's-
snow pushed against it.
Yeah, they're not touching it during the winter time, everything else. So, you know, we're not gonna get thank God, plows in there, you know, pushing things up and really disturbing things. That's,
It's only a
that's a
seasonal
plus.
Okay.
Yeah.
parking area. Right. It was always intended just to be a seasonal parking area.
And are there any other questions, comments, concerns at this time? I think I need to pull the file to get a copy of the order, unless you have a copy of the order on you. Yeah.
No.
Okay.
Oh, yep, I did.
Oh, thank you. Apologies for not.
You're so excited about the files, but yeah,
Drowning in paper. to make a motion? We're gonna yes, what?
Will there be any, should there be any continuing conditions?
Yes, the continuing conditions pertain to stormwater management. They are you ready? 19C through G, 52, 53, 54, and 55.
2, 3, 4.
Yep. So, the commission is satisfied that the work has been completed in full in accordance with the order. To our satisfaction, would anyone care to make a motion regarding a certificate of compliance?
A motion to issue a certificate of compliance for file number 151-284 with the ongoing conditions as stated momentarily ago.
Is there a second? Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Moved.
I like it.
Great. And if you will be so kind as to wait, I'll make a copy and
Yep.
you guys can take
Yep.
the original. Bill,
Yeah, I'm
will
gonna
take
give it
the
to Bill.
original?
I'm gonna
Okay.
give that to Bill and he'll get it to the trust to get it recorded.
Yep.
That Bill is going to receive the original and give it to the trust so that it can be recorded.
So if somebody loses it, it's Bill's fault.
Pretty much, that's where I'm
Right.
going with that. I'm sure Bill's better with paper than some people.
Probably, hopefully.
Yeah, he'll make a copy of it and scan it and email it to us. Perfect.
I can do that too.
Yeah, I get it.
You can? Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Well, it would be convenient. Why not?
I've got it in my hand, so I can, if I give you, I send it to you, you just send it to the commission?
Yep.
Right?
Yeah, I'll forward it on, or,
Okay.
yep. I got that master list that I do.
Right.
Send it out to everyone, so Jessica, Alan will get it. Everyone.
All right.
Are you gonna sign and pass it on?
Oh, is that,
It's kind of.
is that why everybody's staring at me? Sorry. You really lose track of things.
Thank you for doing the minutes.
You're welcome.
Second
All those in favor?
I don't know why you like doing that, because it seems to me, if I was, I'd be missing all of what's going on all around me.
Did you
and
catch the
everything
part
else.
where he was like, oh wait, I have to write all this down because I was talking?
Yeah.
Only 4 times today so far.
All right, I will be right back with this.
That's why I don't have to think about anything.
Yeah, I was taking the minutes, right? I
Yeah.
don't think.
Yeah, well, it's nice of you to do all that.
Thanks. Boy, if only Chris Cockshaw was here, and he was doing this for years and years and years. But and he was, I'm terrible at the, getting them out and getting them filed properly and everything like that. But man, Chris did that.
You do it the next morning, right?
Yeah.
First thing
Oh,
in the
yeah.
morning.
Yeah.
Yeah, I may never do it. He never complained either.
Alright, okay.
Yeah, but then he quit.
See? That's what happens.
So don't quit.
What else are we doing today?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Alrighty, thank you.
Yeah, stay put here.
Oh, look at that, all originals.
Yes, the registry of
Oh,
deeds.
yeah. They will, you're not happy about copies.
All
What's
set
that?
with anything else that I need to, I did Williston and,
Cross-country course,
yeah,
you sent a report.
sent a
on that,
report,
so-
I did for Garska.
Where's good?
I mentioned last time that Loven on O'Neill Street may start
This winter?
this winter, just doing the first section and get the erosion control barriers in so that he can clear it over winter. when he's not busy, and,
Right.
Yeah.
but I'll keep you,
Let us know.
I'll keep you informed on that.
And actually, Garska, there's only one.
He's on the
after-
last one, no, he's on the last one.
Oh, he's on the last
Lot
one.
6 is the last one. There's only one lot, which is on the left going in.
Yeah,
That's outside the 100 buffer zone.
yeah.
So the two at the end are the last two.
The last
So,
one, the buffer zone, yeah.
so lot 5, grass is established. We may ask for a partial certificate on that one before winter comes. But he's got lot 6 sold, so he's gonna try to get some grass growing in there. If it's 80 degrees. and-
When?
A few days, tomorrow, who
Yeah,
knows?
we're running
With
out of-
wacky-
exactly.
Yeah, with these wacky weather, but,
Yeah.
I don't know, but the one directly, lot 6 is, I believe, sold. Alrighty,
Thank you both very much.
Thank you.
Have a good
Thank you very
night.
much.
So following up, we received an email, and I can forward it tomorrow, regarding spill cleanup response actions relative to the tractor trailer truck rollover that we ratified the emergency cert for. And they have until November 25th under that emergency cert. Enforcement actions.
Wait, you said we received an email though?
Yeah, the
Right.
Conservation Commission received an email with documentation updates. The way we required that basically they send us everything that they send to DEP, Bureau of Waste Site Cleanup.
Yeah.
So what has been received? We received something. Great. Yeah. No updates on enforcement actions A through D. Autumn Properties Rear LLC has been updated to reflect the previous comments. I don't actually know who the building inspector is right now because we don't have one.
We can have an interim one sometimes, but
Right, so rather than, I just addressed it to the building inspector.
okay, all right.
And they'll receive a copy of this correspondence, and it really won't matter at all for the building inspector because no one's building anything there. So, with that, I think we can sign and move forward. Yes? Okay.
Yes.
Will it get assigned an enforcement order at this point?
This is an enforcement order.
Okay, I just noticed it didn't have a number on it.
Does it get a number?
Oh,
It'll be 2016-001 probably.
yes, that's what's on there. And that is on there, so it's EO-2016-001.
EO dash
2016,
dash
the thing you just said.
dash 001.
So,
Then what does the recipient, do they have to?
they have
acknowledge
to
receipt?
nominate a qualified environmental professional.
But I mean, when they get this, do they have to acknowledge that they've gotten it? Or
We're
just
going to send it
certificate?
certified mail.
Okay.
And,
And yeah, I remember what
Yeah.
they're required to do.
yep.
Does it do finals on the deed?
No.
They just have to acknowledge it and then follow it.
Where did I steal
We're-
that from originally?
We're not set up for that.
Other places do file on.
I don't know, under their bylaws or ordinances, they may,
Okay.
which would probably be a good idea,
Okay,
but,
well,
enforcement orders getting recorded against deeds.
mhm.
Okay, so,
I
What's the
screwed up the
timeline?
bylaw thing.
Are we checking in with them in not for a year or?
sorry, one moment please,
That was on the top before.
yeah.
Yeah, actually, we did put dates on those that would now be hard to meet now that it's been 3
I
weeks
think so.
since we wrote it, didn't we?
We'll double check, we didn't get those pages.
We're just gonna take your signatures. and
Further
put
order,
some other
even if
document.
following activities prior to November 1. Nominate in writing somebody, flag the boundaries, document the area, so they have 2 weeks.
Mm,
Do you want to amend that to be November 15th?
maybe we should amend that.
Okay.
We'll amend it to be November 15th. We'll bring it
Okay.
back to the next meeting to sign it.
No, you
How
have decided, I'll second amend the letter.
So then, and then at the next meeting, we'll have to do December first, and it'll be a long
I
process.
just check.
Okay, I'll fix that, we'll send it tomorrow.
So you have to reprint page 1.
Yeah, that's easy.
Sorry about that.
I was the one who updated it. Okay, open space updates. Jess Allen is probably gonna be at our meeting next week, so if anyone wants to go on their open space thinking cap.
More like remembering cap.
Right.
That's what we need.
Yeah, the orchard, she needs to put out
She
the
needs to do
work
something.
request.
Can we,
How, you can ask her?
She's just putting out the, request to just do the tree stuff, nothing else? No wetland, anything?
I think you were talking about doing soils out there, weren't you?
I was, but she didn't sound that interested, so I'm happy to do that still if there's a need or a use, but just expressed my need, so I didn't pursue it further.
Did you find another site for your project?
I did find
Okay.
something to use, yeah, so it's not an issue on my end, but
Alright.
I'm happy to look at it if it would be of value at some point.
I don't see myself getting out there anytime soon.
And so the scope of the project would be the tree work and then looking into doing the trail around that block. So it's really just the tree work that we're waiting on.
Maybe what I'll do is under open space updates on the next agenda, I will add, orchard updates, Echodale West / orchard, park, orchard updates from Jess Allen.
Had she, am I remembering right that she had hired someone to put,
I thought they were
Something
going to, so.
I can't remember if that had actually
Are
happened.
you thinking of the, like
Like a student?
recreational space
intern
website or
maybe?
something, like a,
Directory
Thingy
database
directory.
thingy.
yeah, is that what you're thinking of, Julie?
I don't know.
You
So we'll
call
have Jess update us next week,
Yeah.
and we can ask her these questions and try to refresh our collective memories.
Maybe that is what it was. I don't remember.
This is,
I hate this open space stuff in that we never have any
we never
momentum.
make any progress.
Yes,
At least it's on the agenda.
it is.
Yeah,
that's progress.
Should remind us.
Yeah.
Oh, no, that's not progress.
But yeah, so I'm just wondering, like, is there something that we could be doing? Cause it feels like,
We just need somebody to do it, you know?
Do we need wetland lines and things like that?
We do,
Yeah.
up there we do, because there's either a pipe or a seep that breaks out at like the northeast corner, and it comes, like, there's a reason a lot of those trees are dead, is because it's too wet for them.
Mhm.
And, there's essentially a wetland that has formed, and it connects all the way down to the jurisdictional stream, behind the
Community garden.
community gardens and at the bottom of the slope there that
So is the
goes-
orchard, I was looking the other day as I was driving down here, is the orchard uphill of,
Mhm.
and so it goes orchard farm, or not, community farm?
Garden.
Community garden.
Garden.
Or, yeah, that's
Mhm.
it, okay.
Yeah.
And
so
those two are right
it's-
next to each
it's-
other?
It's, Park Hill Orchard.
Yeah.
With their barn.
On both
Or
sides.
their, yes, and then there's like the chicken area. And then
And the art.
it becomes incredibly unkempt, and that's.
That's our part.
That's
That's
our part,
okay.
that's the
I kinda
orchard.
figured that the
And then
described
community
one
garden.
must be us,
Yeah.
alright.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, do we think it would be, do we think it would be an RDA to do,
Depends on what's being done.
well, yeah, and I can't even remember what we were talking about being done.
Taking out all the trees, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Taking all of them.
And how-
So if that's what's being done, then we know what's being done, right? So we would need to do an NOI to ourselves, or can
Well-
we do an RDA?
If you're cutting a dead tree,
Mm-hmm.
it's not really an alteration.
But are they
They're
dead?
not
But if they're taking them out.
Some of them
I
might be
think the
dead.
machine
Yeah.
that I used to do it,
Yeah, I mean,
I think of the 50 or so that we, maybe that's a over-exaggeration, though most of them are alive.
most were alive, but can
No,
you drive in there and
if
do
it's-
something?
It depends on what time of year, as to whether or not that's an really gonna be an alteration. If it's a really, not that there's been a wet
It's-
time of year, but there's still, there's still areas that have been
If we have a
wet
normal
and
January or
saturated
February,
surface.
we could drive in there and not disturb anything,
Right.
right?
So then it's, is the snowpack gonna be, you know, do they need to take the root mass out?
Depends, what do we wanna do once the trees are gone?
Well, we don't know.
I
We don't have a
know.
plan.
I
Do
know
we
the plan
apply
was
to
take it
ourselves
down.
replace some new
Is that the
apple
plan?
tree stock?
Well, we
It's a nice
floated that.
plan.
We floated
Sounds
that,
good.
but then we
Yeah,
remembered that we
yeah.
had to, somebody was gonna have to maintain them, or else the whole thing was gonna happen again.
Well, we had a plan.
Some
I
trees
remember
were
showing some trees. that
possibly,
we-
you know,
Savable.
savable, so Russell, you know, pointed out certain ones,
Right.
and we tagged them and identified which ones that could possibly be worked on, but then, you know, there's a maintenance, ongoing 3-year plan to
It's funny when they-
get those back in there,
Right.
So,
into shape.
so if we think it's an RDA and we know that there's a wetland someplace, we don't know exactly where, can we just do, we could just do an RDA to ourselves, saying cut all the trees except these trees, and there's wetlands around here somewhere. And we'll just do it during the winter, or use low ground pressure equipment, you know, and
Well,
we'll,
wouldn't you have to do the wetland delineation first to find out where, if any of these trees are
we
impacted?
just did,
But
we
we know they're
wouldn't do
within the
it.
buffer zone.
But
Yeah,
what if
we-
they're like in the wetland? Are we gonna take out those still?
Yeah, we can take out those still.
I'm gonna say yes, because some were right in the, what we thought was wetland.
Makes sense it to be.
Logistically, can we apply to ourselves, or
Yeah.
how does that work? We can.
Yeah,
We have-
that's what we did for
Well,
the
the
community
city
garden.
planners office will.
We'll officially do it.
Yeah. That's what the community garden was.
Was it?
Yeah, it was Stuart.
And can we do our own resource delineations? Or do we have to,
I mean, I don't think we delineate, if we're not gonna change what we do over there versus over here, you know.
If we just specify it has to be done between, you know, January 15th and
Yeah.
February 15th, and the ground has to be frozen.
Or if we require, you know, if the bid documents say either do with the ground frozen or use low ground pressure equipment, you know. And just treat the whole thing as if it's a wetland, you know, or
Right.
just not even bother where the line is, just treat everything the same, you know.
What if it's all bid though, we could do restoration? Mitigation?
We make the contractor not alter it, and the bid documents say that, and if they alter it, then it's their problem. Then we make them fix it.
but they don't know where it is, because
Yeah.
we haven't, I think we're gonna wind up having to.
We're just gonna like swan map the whole thing and hopefully they don't disturb anything.
Well, I mean, if it's
If the ground's frozen, it's really hard to
yeah,
disturb.
if it's
Right.
frozen, or if they use low ground pressure equipment, you know, then,
I think we can continue this conversation when we have a better idea of where we stand on Jess Allen's end.
Let's do it next week then.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and that's only a week away, so this is all
Well,
standing a
fresh
chance
in
of
our
being
minds.
very
fresh in our
fresh.
minds.
Fresher than the previous conversation.
And so an ongoing question though is how to deal with maintenance.
Right.
Okay,
Yeah,
I can,
so I don't think we, at least in my mind, we're not planting anything right now.
It was to restore the trees that we thought, based on
Yeah.
Russell's experience, that could be savable. And there was only, you know, a half a dozen of 30 or 40
Mm-hmm.
that he would attempt it on.
Yeah. And every,
Sorry.
no, go ahead, I was just gonna say something.
Do we have
snide.
documents
Sorry.
about this project somewhere? I think someone,
I've drawn
In the
up
first
like
meeting
some
we talked
summaries
about-
of the 2 different site visits that we went on.
okay.
It's nothing like,
And they emailed it to us.
is that true? It's not
Just-
documented.
I thought I remembered somebody saying at some point that there was something I could look over to get caught
You-
up.
I made just a
Did the
map of,
GPS.
you know, rough GPS of trees that were,
Were you there for that?
There was a whole big
Or not
plan
yet.
that,
I was here when Jess showed us a map that had trees that they thought were alive and trees that they thought
Yeah.
needed to go.
Mm-hmm.
But that was the first meeting I was here for when we discussed open space.
That's right here.
There should
Yeah,
be
that-
that,
I seen
Yeah.
that.
It's the last thing we worked on.
so that was just kind of a,
Which this has 5 definite saved trees. And
Green,
3 maybe
right.
saved trees.
this is probably your documentation,
Yeah.
right?
there was also the Conway School report that included all the,
There's a whole Echodale parcel,
yeah, potential trails on the other side, which kind of came back to,
which came back to not much because of the APR
right.
on the land and not being able to disturb the prime farmland soils.
But it did touch on this parcel a little bit, right?
On having a loop
Thought they-
around here.
Yeah, and I thought they talked about those odd features in the wooded area
Mm,
over here.
I think they do.
Yeah, I thought that it's like, I remember having this conversation that ultimately what would, of all their work that they did, what would actually make sense to do would be to make a loop, like just a, I don't remember, half-mile loop trail.
So would anyone be willing to volunteer to work to consolidate the information that we have and put it in a physical binder so that we could then reference that?
Let's talk to Jessica next Monday and
Looks like
make
Jay
that plan.
has
Looks
a
like
bunch
Jay
of
has
stuff.
most of it.
Yeah. Wait, so,
I
I mean, so that wetland boundary, to me, it looks like it's probably, you know, whoever doing that, those purple lines look like they, I mean,
That
It's
was
definitive.
yes.
I think usually those purple things,
Yeah.
just based
Some
on.
area.
I think we put those on last time.
yeah,
Yeah.
they're probably like not much,
They're not very
Worse.
off.
yeah,
No, just looking
they're
at
good
the
enough.
aerial
Cause
photo.
it slopes this way anyways, right?
It,
Yeah.
yeah, that's, I mean, that's the low point, basically, topographically, I don't think we have very good contours out here.
Yeah.
It's just, yeah. I mean, we have the delineated line, although it's very
A
old now,
portion of it,
from the, well, we have.
garden, yeah.
Yeah, we have the one from the garden and then one from this.
Yeah.
We could theoretically get all those together and then have what we needed.
I just think it's weird, cause we always go by like, this 3 years, blah, 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 if you're more than 3 years, you gotta redelineate your site, and it's like, we're just gonna go by old maps and maybe DEP, and maybe some sketch from an aerial photo.
I think we
Which
just call the whole
is
thing a
great.
wetland buffer zone and manage it as if it's all is in buffer, all the work in buffer, and then we don't have to delineate anything.
And prioritize doing the went over.
And do it when we're gonna not disturb the ground, so when the ground's frozen or there's snowpack or whatever is happening this winter, next winter, whatever.
Alternatively, if you wanted to get out there before the November meeting,
Just look at it,
time,
yeah.
I
throw
mean,
up a few more flags.
I
I
would
don't think.
go take Nick out there.
There you go, he could use it.
Yeah, he's an auger.
It really doesn't look like there's that many trees in the wetland anyways.
No.
Yeah.
Because they don't survive,
No.
they don't
Right.
grow, but there are invasives in the wetland that probably
Yeah.
need to be removed.
Well, then, I mean, yeah, there's that too. There's multiflora rose at the edge.
Right.
Hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just take this map out there and just see if the ones that we wanna cut are in buffer zone versus the wetland.
No, the greens were the saved ones, the yellow were the maybes, and the reds were the ones that we looked at. Now, obviously, there's probably more reds in here that we didn't talk about, so I was just trying to generically pick some.
Okay. So is that something you're gonna try to do by November? Are
Yeah.
you driving out there?
Yeah, I mean, we garden all the time, so might as
So,
well go over there.
Let's talk next Monday, and then I'll give you a copy of this and we'll make a plan.
There's also something about getting CPA funds. Right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
getting a plan in order to apply for CPA funds.
Yeah, I think that was probably like waiting for the work to go out to bid to know.
To
how much
know what
was
the value is,
actually-
because you have to have a
Yeah.
value to submit for the CPA.
Alright, so let's see if we can crank through these updates. Paul Street Extension, Jillian Estates. We got an update, everything seems to be stable. Pleasant Street Mills, no updates.
Nothing happening.
Nashwanik Mills, 15 Cottage Street, nothing happening. Oxbow, no updates. Boyle, 184 Northampton
Site
Street.
stable, they're working on it.
Town Beach, Nashwanik Pond,
Stable, grass is.
we're
fed.
waiting on that as-built. Okay.
Is that even, no, whatever.
Lathrop, no updates as of recently. PCT, we just closed out Mother Field, so we can take that off. Woohoo. Williston, we received an update.
Update.
Has anyone been out there?
I have not been since 2 weeks.
So
I
they,
expected their erosion protection before this second one.
they have, some of the new the other crossings are in now.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
got pictures of.
I think all of them. Is that
Yeah,
right?
that's what it looks like,
Okay.
yeah.
No, sorry, what?
The street crossings just look higher than I imagined. I think it would just be a check of the photography.
Go for it.
Did you do guys on that?
No.
Oh, shut.
Just that one. It must be
Count down days.
otherwise I don't want to be
Okay. So, City of East Hampton, Nashwauk Pond, aquatic veg management, no updates? Work's done for the summer? Okay. Live-in Properties, we received the reiterated update that work may begin this winter. General business, meeting minutes, September 26, 2016. Jay sent them out. Any comments?
Was there any changes, because
I
that's the
didn't-
only
I don't have any
copy.
suggestions.
Not even a part where I had a snarky comment in there that I guess nobody noticed.
I didn't go through them. Would you suggest we table this to further review for snarky comments?
Probably.
Okay, why don't we just table this until our October 24th meeting?
Just trying to see if
Well, that'll teach us.
You're reading them, that'll teach us.
Can I ask
This
a
is-
question about the algae, the herbicide? Wasn't he gonna give us some like little cute picture like he does with like the percent cover of invasives? So he's gonna give us some sort of documentation of effectiveness.
No,
I
anyone?
think that was
Kind of there.
before subsequent applications or something like that. I thought that too, and then I went back and
He's extremely
didn't see that in there. But I did see the updating the map before,
Who we hired for?
before subsequent applications.
Elimination for,
We can double check afterwards, you know.
I know, I think I asked him, like, how do you monitor this?
Yeah.
And then he said change the maps. And then, I don't know if you've ever seen a map.
I'll check.
Yeah, I mean, I figure that there are people from the pond committee going out and looking, you know, because it's,
meeting minutes
that's
that we're
I
what
know,
they're,
we read them and
that's
we're
what they
gonna
do,
see what
you
it
know,
is
they're
that
very
they said.
self-motivated in tracking the vegetation and it just costs them extra
Yes,
money
you're
to
gonna tell us.
make
No.
maps and stuff.
Exactly.
I think we decided that it made sense to just have them make a map when they were planning and not after the fact. Because it's really for their own purposes that, you know, that they're interested in how well the work happens or not.
I think it's a funding thing too, to make sure you know how to do it. Make sure you want to continue doing it.
Mm-hmm.
If there's no progress, it's the point.
Yeah.
I
Yep.
think we're receiving it, sorry, I'm interrupting. Are you guys done with what you're saying? So, this is
Hey,
garden.
lumber bill.
This is a lumber bill. This is the garden
Garden.
committee, $100, $101.99. I will put it in Jesso's. I wonder if we could ask Lori to
Not send them to us.
not.
It seems too easy.
Someone was feeling sensitive.
Okay, I didn't know more. I don't know about people's. Decision.
We found it, at least
No.
one.
Oh.
Oh. Apparently, ZBA denied the building permit for Russell Brain's, accessory apartment.
Really?
But it's not a conservation, it's not jurisdictional. Attached construction report update, on Hall Street, we have a copy. We have a copy. I don't need this.
So do we check this?
Chuck, this is a decision. Did we have that already?
What?
Jess Allen.
Oh, that's not exciting.
Oh, wait. I should open that.
So your invitation to the Shutterfield open?
No, I think it's the site plan. We'll just deal with it at the next
Okay.
meeting. Maybe? So I'm not really sure what to make of this. Who knows? I want to plan. It's a signed statement about the.
But no drawing.
Right. What's today?
17th.
Yeah. Please reply by October 13th. That's not happening. Regarding 77 Strong Street, I don't even know what it says, at Sterling Drive. Oh, that's not helpful. I mean, it's helpful, but I can't see surrounding area, so that's not helpful.
What's the Strong Street?
These are just copies of things that we already have copies of. I'll ask Jess Allen. I'll just tell her to see our basket. Anything else before our October 24th meeting?
I have a fast update regarding conversation from last night.
Great.
I spoke with Mark Stinson at the DEP, and if you did not dig at the surface, he does not care. There is no potential for violations for
Oh,
jacking the
regarding
pipe under the ground into buffer
Okay,
or wetland.
thank you for following up on that.
So,
I'm gonna spend the rest of the evening trying to think of some case in which he probably should be.
It
Yeah,
seems
I mean,
like
it
there
seems
have to
like-
be instances, but
I mean, if,
just because you can't see it on the surface, I can do anything underground? Note to self.
Right.
strike that from the record.
Just hold on, I'll slow down.
I'm sure all your
Like that cartoon, I forget what it was, it may have been a Winnie the Pooh thing or whatever, where like there's a carrot patch and you know, some.
Carrots are disappearing.
Yeah, carrots are like disappearing.
Something Bugs Bunny.
Maybe, yeah.
That
maybe
sounds
it's
like it,
funny,
yes, I
yeah.
agree.
I think you need to take creepy carrots out of the library. It's a good one. Okay, but we are going off topic. So,
I moved.
Motion to adjourn?
all those in favor?
Aye.
So moved. At 7:20. Excellent.
Thanks, Rick.